When you stop chasing an avoidant, something strange can happen. The person who acted distant can suddenly become attentive. The person who took days to reply can suddenly check in. The person who said they do not want anything serious can suddenly act possessive. And if you are anxious, that switch can feel like proof. It can feel like you finally did it right. It can feel like they realized your value. But here is the hard truth that stabilizes you immediately. Sometimes they are not responding to love. They are responding to loss of control. They are responding to nervous system panic. In this episode, I am going to explain exactly why avoidant attachment can panic when you stop chasing, what is actually happening inside their nervous system, why anxious attachment becomes vulnerable to misreading the shift, and the calm way to hold your ground so the relationship either becomes real or ends clean. If you stay until the end, you will stop being confused by the switch, and you will know how to respond in a way that protects your dignity and forces reality. Let's start with the simplest sentence that explains the whole pattern. Avoidant attachment is organized around autonomy as safety. That means their nervous system feels safer when they believe they have space, options, and exit routes. They can enjoy closeness, but closeness becomes threatening when it implies expectation, permanence, or responsibility. So many avoidants manage closeness by controlling distance. They pull back, they delay, they stay vague, they create uncertainty. Not always consciously, but consistently. And when you chase, you accidentally make their nervous system prediction come true. Their body predicts closeness will lead to pressure, so you pursue, you ask, you try to repair, you explain, you request reassurance. Then, their nervous system says, "See? This is why closeness is dangerous," and they create more distance. That is the anxious avoidant loop. Now, what happens when you stop chasing? The most important thing to understand is that you do not just remove your attention, you remove their regulation structure. Chasing is not just attention. Chasing is a signal that the bond is intact and that the other person is still available. It is proof that they still have access without having to change. So, when you stop, you remove the safety cushion. You remove the reassurance they were receiving without admitting they needed it. And you create a new sensation in their system: uncertainty. The same uncertainty they were handing to you. Now they feel it, and their nervous system responds. That response can look like panic, but it is important to define what panic means in avoidant attachment, because it often does not look like anxiety. Avoidants do not always feel anxiety as anxiety. They often feel it as irritation, restlessness, numbness, a sudden urge to reach out, a sudden urge to check your status, a sudden urge to re-secure connection. So, the first reason they panic when you stop chasing is that you threaten their sense of control. When you are chasing, the relationship is organized around them. They set the pace. They decide when they reply. They decide when you meet. They decide how deep things go. When you stop chasing, you remove their ability to regulate the connection through distance, and that loss of control creates discomfort. Not because they are evil, but because their nervous system is used to being the one who controls proximity. The second reason is that your pullback creates attachment salience. When you stop chasing, you become more psychologically present. You are no longer available for free. Their brain begins to scan. What is happening? Are you pulling away? Are you detaching? Are you moving on? That scanning is attachment activation. The bond becomes louder in their body when it is not guaranteed. The third reason is that your pullback removes their access to reassurance. This is the part people miss. Many avoidants receive reassurance through your pursuit. They may not ask for reassurance. They may even claim they do not need it. But your chasing tells them they are wanted, chosen, safe, not losing you. When that disappears, they feel the loss, and they reach. The fourth reason is ego injury. Some avoidants are not only avoidant, they are also insecure and validation hungry. Your chase feeds that validation. When it stops, they feel a drop, and they try to restore it. The fifth reason is fear of consequences. When you stop chasing, they sense you might finally set a boundary. And boundaries mean they might lose the benefits of the relationship without ever having committed. That fear can drive sudden effort. Now, here is where this gets even more precise. And this is the part that usually makes people say, "This finally explains what happened to me." In many anxious avoidant dynamics, chasing becomes a hidden contract. The avoidant does not say it out loud, but the relationship stabilizes around it. The anxious person chases, initiates, repairs, reassures, and the avoidant stays loosely connected without having to risk full vulnerability. Over time, the avoidant starts associating your chase with safety. It becomes the signal that the bond is still on, that you are still there, that nothing is required of them right now. So when you stop chasing, they experience it as a rupture, even if you never announced anything. They experience it as a sudden withdrawal of safety, and they respond the way humans respond when a safety signal disappears. They try to restore it. This is why they can look like they are chasing you when you stop chasing them. They are trying to restore the old regulation pattern. Now, that does not mean they do not care. It means you have to separate care from capacity. Care can exist inside a system that still cannot do secure love. Capacity is what shows you whether this turns into a relationship. So we need to talk about the difference between three things that look similar on the surface. The first is genuine love. The second is genuine care with low capacity. The third is threatened access. Genuine love shows up as consistency that does not require a fear trigger. It shows up as repair without you begging. It shows up as forward motion over time. Genuine care with low capacity shows up as warmth that comes and goes, good intentions, and moments of closeness, but difficulty sustaining responsibility. Threatened access shows up as a sudden spike the moment you pull away, followed by a drop the moment they feel safe again. So the key question is not, did they reach when I stopped chasing? The key question is, do they keep showing up when there is nothing to fear? Now, let's map what the avoidant panic response actually looks like, because there are different types and they mean different things. Type 1 is the check-in. They send a casual message that looks innocent. "Hey, how are you? What are you up to?" They react to your story. They like something old. The goal is not deep connection. The goal is to test access, to see if you are still there. Type 2 is the intensity return. They suddenly become affectionate. They might love bomb lightly. They might talk about the bond. They might talk about missing you. They might initiate sex. They might act like a partner. This is the most dangerous type because it creates dopamine and hope. Type 3 is the possessive flair. They act jealous. They ask questions. They suddenly care who you are with. They might imply you are wrong for pulling away. This is not love. This is control threat. Type 4 is the crisis hook. They suddenly have a problem. They need your help. They are stressed. They want comfort. This pulls you back into emotional labor. Type 5 is the guilt flip. They make you feel like you are abandoning them. They imply you are cold. They say you changed. They say you are playing games. The purpose is to push you back into chasing so they can feel safe again. Now, there is one more type, and it is the quiet hover. They do not reach directly, but they hover. They watch your stories. They keep themselves visible. They stay in your orbit. This is a low-risk way of maintaining connection without vulnerability. Now, here is a high-retention detail that matters a lot. The avoidant panic response often comes in waves, and the waves are predictable. Wave 1 is contact. They reach to test if you are still available. Wave 2 is closeness. If you respond, they often increase warmth quickly to lock you back in. Wave 3 is relief. Once they feel safe again, their original avoidance system comes back online and starts protecting autonomy. That is when they pull back again. This is why anxious people feel like they are losing their mind. The person seems present, then gone, then present, then gone. But the pattern makes perfect sense when you understand that one part of their system wants connection, and another part of their system fears the consequences of connection. Now, we need to name something that is uncomfortable, but liberating. In many dynamics, the avoidant does not panic because they suddenly realized you are the love of their life. They panic because they realized you might stop being available for free. They panic because you removed the role you were playing in the relationship. The role of stabilizer, planner, reassurer, and emotional glue. When you stop performing that role, the relationship reveals what it actually was. And that is painful, but it is also power. Because it tells you whether this connection has reciprocity or whether it was being propped up by your anxiety. Now, what matters is not which type they do once. What matters is what happens after you respond. Because the avoidant panic response can be a momentary spike that resets once they feel safe again. And this is why anxious people get hooked. The sequence looks like this. You stop chasing, they reach, you feel relief. You respond fully. They feel safe. They pull back again, and the cycle repeats. That cycle trains your nervous system to believe that the key to closeness is withdrawal. You start thinking, I have to pull away to get them. And that becomes its own addiction, because you are now regulating the relationship with distance too. And that is not secure. That is a trauma loop. So the goal of this episode is not to teach you to play games. It is to teach you to hold a standard, so their nervous system has to reveal capacity. Now, we need to talk about what is actually happening inside the avoidant brain when you stop chasing. The avoidant system often runs on a push-pull mechanism. When you pursue, they feel pressure, so they deactivate and distance. When you pull back, the pressure drops, and the bond becomes safe enough to feel. Their feelings come online when the threat goes down. That is why you see warmth after you stop chasing. It is not always manipulation. Sometimes it is their nervous system finally allowing connection because it does not feel cornered. But here is the critical point. If their warmth only exists when you are distant, it is not relational capacity. It is regulation. Relational capacity means they can stay warm while you are close. It means they can tolerate your needs without collapsing. It means they can repair after distance. It means they can build consistency. So the question is not, do they reach when you pull away? The question is, do they build when you are present? Now, I want to give you the most stabilizing truth you can hold. If someone only values you when they feel you slipping away, they are not responding to love. They are responding to threatened access. Love does not require threat to show up. Love shows up through steady choice. Now, what should you do when an avoidant panics after you stop chasing? This is where most people either lose their power or they become cold. We are not doing either. The rule is warmth without collapse. That means you respond with calm, but you do not return to overfunctioning. You do not return to constant availability. You do not return to emotional labor that was not being reciprocated. You do not reward panic with instant, full access. Because if you do, you teach their nervous system that they can keep you with minimal effort. Instead, you slow down. You let behavior stabilize before you give deeper access. Now, here is the framework that makes this easy. I call it the 3-step hold. Step 1 is receive the reach without punishment. If they message, you can reply kindly. You do not ignore to play games. You do not punish. You simply stay grounded. Step 2 is maintain your new baseline. You do not suddenly become the planner, the rescuer, the chaser. You keep your pace. Step 3 is require consistency before intimacy deepens. That means you watch for repeat behavior. Does the effort last beyond one day? Does it last beyond one weekend? Do they initiate again? Do they follow through? Do they repair? Do they move forward? Now, this is the part that keeps you safe. If the panic response is real interest plus capacity, you will see a pattern shift. If it is only nervous system regulation, you will see the same loop. They will spike and fade. Spike and fade. Now, I want to name the difference between an avoidant who is triggered but capable and an avoidant who is simply managing you. A capable avoidant might still be avoidant. They might need space. They might move slowly, but they do not punish you for standards. They do not make you beg. They do not keep you in ambiguity while taking partner benefits. They can have a calm conversation. They can offer clarity even if they dislike labels. They can say, I want to keep building. I want to be exclusive. I am not ready for big steps yet, but I am choosing you. That sentence is capacity. An avoidant who is managing you will resist clarity. They will offer vibes. They will offer chemistry. They will offer moments. They will offer apologies. They will offer future talk without present behavior. They will keep your access high and your security low. Now, let's talk about the sentence that forces reality without chasing, because this is the moment your nervous system changes. If they come back after you stop chasing and you feel pulled to collapse, use this calm line. I like you and I enjoy what we have. I am not available for hot and cold. If we are building, I need consistency that matches it. If you are not ready, I respect it. But I will stay a little more distant. That line does two things. It keeps warmth, and it protects your structure. Now you might think, won't that push them away? Here is the truth. If a calm standard pushes them away, they were not going to hold your heart safely anyway. And if they are capable, that standard will actually calm them too. Because standards create predictability. Secure people are attracted to predictability. Avoidant people who are doing the work become attracted to predictability too. People who are benefiting from limbo hate predictability because predictability removes their ability to take without choosing. Now, let's name the biggest trap. The biggest trap is mistaking their panic response for a turning point. A turning point is not a burst of attention. A turning point is consistent behavior over time. A turning point is repair. A turning point is follow-through. A turning point is clarity. So, if you want to know whether the switch is real, ask this. After they panic and reach, do they keep showing up when you are calm and close? Do they show up when there is nothing to fear losing? Do they show up without you creating distance? That is the test. Now, I want to speak to the avoidant listener for a moment. because some avoidants watch this channel and they genuinely want to understand themselves. If you panic when someone stops chasing, that is a sign you do care more than you admit. But care is not enough. If you reach out to restore access and then you withdraw again once you feel safe, you are training the other person to become anxious and distrustful. If you want to keep them, you do not need grand gestures. You need one small repair, one sentence that signals choice, one consistent behavior that reduces uncertainty. If you care, practice this. When you feel the urge to withdraw after closeness, send a simple message that keeps warmth. I had a great time. I am a little overwhelmed today, but I like you. That is not a contract. That is humanity. And it prevents your partner from spiraling. Now, for the anxious listener, I want to give you the most empowering reframe. When you stop chasing and they panic, it does not automatically mean you won. It means the pattern is exposed. It means the relationship was being held together by your pursuit. And that is painful, but it is also clarifying, because you do not want to be in a relationship where your anxiety is the glue. You want reciprocity. So your job is not to chase them into choosing you. Your job is to create the conditions where reciprocity is possible, and then observe what they do. Now, here is the final framework that makes this episode land. 1. If they only reach when you pull away, the connection is being regulated by threat, not built by choice. 2. A panic response can look like love, but it is often a nervous system grab for control. 3. Do not reward panic with instant full access, warmth without collapse. 4. Consistency is the only proof. Not words, not intensity, not returns. 5. Your standard does not control them, it reveals them. If they step up with consistent behavior and repair, you build. If they do not, you stop investing in limbo and you return your nervous system to yourself. Because the right person does not need to be scared of losing you to finally treat you well. The right person chooses you while they still have you. Welcome to PsychBond. You're safe here.